Hello everybody, I'm Roxy, this is recmebook&stuff, and before we move on, I really want to encourage you to check out my latest video, my December reading wrap-up, because it took me hours to film and hours to edit, and please check it out. I don't care if it's in installments, I do that too. You don't have to sit through it from beginning to end. You can come back as many times as you want. I'm just saying, please go and watch it. Also, please check it out, The Bibliophile Daily, my new daily literary facts podcast. You can find it down below. I will link to the video announcement because under that I have all the links to all the platforms where you can listen to it, including now Apple Podcast and Spotify. Apple Podcast was missing, but now it's there, so please do check it out. I put so much effort into it, and it gets better every episode if I do say so myself. So please check it out. Also follow us on Twitter at The Biblio Daily. Okay, let's get on with the video. I'm sorry for all the plugs, but really check out the December video. It took so long to make. Today we are talking about the Curious Adventure Nonfiction Challenge. I'm going to link Natalie's announcement, which she did in 2019, I guess, and then her wrap-up, which she uploaded recently. But basically it was a nonfiction challenge helping you pick up more nonfiction, or in my case it was just a fun thing to do. I completed it. I didn't expect to complete it, but I did. I'm very proud. I did not follow my TBR link down below and in the eye as always, as much as I expected, but I did complete it. And honestly, in 2020, after everything that's gone down, that's a win. Here I have my list. This is the idea month thingy, something else entirely. But the first one is all the prompts with what I read for them. So the first one was read about a local celebrity or specialty. And for this I read Claudio Arrau by Marisol García. I talked about this in my December wrap-up, but it's basically a very short biography of one of my favorite pianists, who also happens to be Chilean, so super proud here. I really enjoyed it because it's just a really nice summary, and it goes more into his music than his personal life, which I always enjoy, but it also includes lovely pictures, so I really enjoyed it. I think it's a great solid little book. Then number 2 is an experience different from your own, and I still haven't read the book that I said I was going to read for this, but I read instead Our Women on the Ground, edited by Zahra Hankir. This is an anthology of essays by Arab female journalists. They are all very different in tone, in scope, in approach, and they are from different countries. They all talk about what it means to be a woman in the Arab world, or a woman journalist, or a journalist in general in the world. They talk about ethics and covering war zones. It's just so fascinating, and each of the essays is so strong. I think, no joke, it's one of the best anthologies I've ever read, so you need to read it. Please check it out. It's just amazing. I do feel it can be considered a bit of a cheat. My first pick was by a man because they are women. There is a point of contact there, a very fundamental point of contact there, but their experience is still so different from my own that the fact that it is such a different female experience, it's still completely overwhelming and completely eye-opening. So please check it out. It's so good. Number 3 was celebrate something you love. And for this, I read Bowie's Bookshelf. It's just such a fabulous book. I think about it a lot. I need to reread it. It's basically an annotation of the 100, I think, books that Bowie pointed out as his most influential books of all time. What the author has done here is draw the parallels from the books to Bowie's work, music, aesthetic, and it's such a well done job. It's so insightful. It's almost like literary / music criticism, but each chapter is actually quite short. It's just really good, and I need to revisit it. And of course, because I love David Bowie and I love books, it was a complete joy and celebration for me. Number 4 was a collection with writings published elsewhere, and once again I read several things that could have fit this challenge, but I ended up writing down Best American Food Writing 2019, edited by Samin, Nosrat, because it's just so good, and it might pop up in my favorites of the year. Yeah, wait for that. Number 5 is an activity or craft and then try it out, and of course, it was piano. I mean, it had to be piano. Again, many books could fit this, but I chose The Art of Practicing by Madeline Bruiser, I think is her name. This is a kind of self-helpy book, but it's also a really practical guide to better practicing. Madeline was a performer herself. She meditates, so she has a really chill approach. Being in connection with your body and having good, healthy habits of practicing and not obsessing over stuff, because I am not a chill person at all. It's something with which I've struggled my entire life. This book was exceptionally helpful. Again, it is a bit self-helpy, and sometimes it does that thing that I hate of self-help books where she cites a million cases and like, I sometimes knew this or that, but you know, worth it still. Plus it has sections per each major instrument, so that was also super helpful. Browse shelves and choose a book you've never heard of or just grabs your attention. I had one that I started but I haven't finished yet. Instead, I selected Mademoiselle by Bruno. I cannot pronounce his last name. I'm so sorry, Bruno. This book, which I also reviewed in my December wrap-up, is fabulous. It's not translated into English yet. So sorry for you guys because it's amazing. It's conversations with Nadia Boulanger, music teacher and conductor extraordinaire. I came across this book while I was browsing one of my favorite indie bookstores and I begged my mom to get it for me and she did. And I loved it. If you read in French and Spanish, and I think it's also translated into Italian and German, so there are options. Sadly not in English. Still really recommend it. Her views on music and education are so great. Prompt number 7 is also a bit of a cheat. It's supposed to be an era you would have liked to live in, and quite honestly, the book I originally planned on reading for this prompt fit much better because it's an actual era I would have liked to live in, but I didn't get to finish it. So instead, I chose Oscar Wilde, A Life in Letters, edited by Marilyn Holland. And the thing is that, you know, turn of the century London and also Paris, and that whole decadent Belle Epoque scene was not that bad. Not an era I would have loved to live in, you know, as a woman, though maybe I could have been an actress. I chose this because I would have loved to meet Oscar Wilde. I would have loved to write letters to him and have a correspondence and yeah. Then number 8 is a DNF. Read a fiction non-fiction pair. I could have changed this, but I really wanted to mention both. Actually, it was a very disappointing category, I think. I chose to read Gentleman Jack, which is a biography by Angela Steidele, which I really, really didn't like, and I DNF'd not even halfway through. Prose was super dry and the approach was strange. It clearly didn't take into consideration any of the cultural aspects. It was basically a denunciation of Annie Lister's affairs, which is a weird position to take. If you don't know, Annie Lister was one of the first so-called modern lesbians because she was like openly-ish a woman who only loved women, and she was very manipulative and a bit toxic, but that wasn't all she was, and it was just such a weird framing of the story, quite honestly. Yeah, I don't like biographies in general that are only about the personal life of a person. Maybe I could read something like that for someone I already adored, although I doubt it. I want more out of my bios. Anyways, I Know My Own Name is a play by Emma Donoghue. Luckily, it wasn't the first thing I had read by Emma Donoghue, because if I had read just that, I would have thought she was a terrible writer, which she is not. I've read Room and I've read some of her short stories and I think they are very, very good. But this play, which is a fictional account of Annie Lister and some of her affairs, was just so dull. The pacing was weird. I just didn't like it at all. Maybe if I saw it live, but even just the dialogues I didn't enjoy. So yeah, that was a bit of a dud. Then number 9 was a complete win, book that is related to your childhood, and for that I chose History of Magic, the companion to the British Library exhibition, which must have been lovely. I raved about this book in my December wrap-up once again. See, so many reasons to watch that. I recently realized that Harry Potter the movie came out in 2001. I didn't realize I was that young when it came out because I have so many vivid memories regarding that time of my life. I mean, not that time in general, but like associated with Harry Potter for many different reasons. So this was even more tied to my childhood than I expected. Number 10 is a graphic nonfiction book, and I read many of them. So I will link my TBR for Nonfiction November and then my Nonfiction November wrap-up where I wrapped up the graphic novels I read. I decided to go with the Dialogues by Clifford V. Johnson, which is graphic nonfiction essays or like vignettes explaining various topics of research in physics and astrology and math. It uses the Platonic dialogue, which is why it's called the dialogue. So each chapter is framed as a dialogue, and it's really, really cute and really fascinating. I think it's a good present for a lot of people. Check out my nonfiction November wrap-up to hear more about it. Number 11 was a new to you press, and its bonus is if it's indie. I accomplished that. I read something of his art by Horatio Clare. Now, I had read something else by Horatio Clare before, but it was published by a different press. So this one is published by a cute press whose name I don't remember. I'm so sorry, because I read it for Springathon in, was that April or May? I don't remember the particulars, but it's a wonderful press that specializes in travel and nature writing, and it's amazing. So please check it out. It will be linked down below. And this is Horatio Clare following the steps of Bach, who walked from the city where he worked as Kapellmeister, which was like a small city, and then going to this other city that was much bigger, where he worked at a bigger place. I'm sorry, I forget the details. I suck. I should have reviewed them for this video, but I didn't. But I remember the feelings. There are parts that I remember very vividly. For example, because this was also a radio show, there is commentary on what it was like to record the radio show while they were walking. And also there is a specific section where Horatio Clare talks about how his fascination with Bach started, and how the cello suites in particular spoke to him when he was severely depressed, and that part was so moving. I really enjoyed this. It's really short and I really recommend it. And finally, number 12 is 84 Charing Crossroads, for self-reflection or a book that reminds you of yourself. I talked a little bit about this in my December wrap-up, but yeah, so basically I'm going to put the version in Spanish here, because that features a picture of me. It's not really me. It's not me. Now it's not so much. I look different, but I promise I used to look like that a lot. And actually I have a picture with that photo, and I will put it here, because at the Buenos Aires Book Fair some years ago, they had this panel with that picture. That's one of the reasons I chose this book, but also because a sassy New Yorker woman that orders books by letter is very much who I would have liked to have been. This is an epistolary nonfiction book of the exchange between Helen Hanff, who was a screenwriter in New York, and the salespeople at that used bookstore across the ocean. And I'm always ordering things from across the ocean. When I ordered with Hatchers directly, I felt so much like Helen Hanff. It was wonderful. So yeah, that's the book I chose. Sue me. Okay, that was all. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you liked it, please give a thumbs up. Please subscribe and comment. Have you read any of these books? Or are you planning on reading any of these books? And or did you participate in the Curious Adventure Challenge? If you did, please tell me how you did. It's okay if you didn't complete it. Also, it's been a hard year, 2021. I don't know for you, but for me, certainly personal stuff, but also just the world keeps getting crazier and crazier. Ugh, we'll see how it goes. But I hope you're doing okay, that you're safe, that you are managing to find some nice reading time and things that bring you joy. So that's it. See you next time. I'm still trying to figure out the lighting thing. It's not like professional lighting. It's a toy that they are selling everywhere now. But I think it is like improving the look. What do you think? Please let me know. Let me know if you have any advice, and also if you think there is a way, or you know there is a way through which I can use the light to record with glasses as well. That would be great. I mean, I don't mind recording without glasses, but glasses are my true form, so I would like to include them.